everyone, and welcome to this week's Mystic Moonstone Angel card reading. The duration for this reading is the 18th of May through to the 24th. Sorry, I've got a bit of a dry throat today, so bear with me. Let's have a look and see what the cards have in store for us this week. Okay, first card we have is Archangel Raziel, the Mystic of the Angels. And we have Divine Mystery. Let's have a look and see. There's not a lot I can say about that card. That's why I've kind of gone quickly onto the Influence card, because it can mean so many different things. Okay, when we get the Influence card, then we might have more of an idea. The Angel of Communication. Communicate clearly. Don't be afraid to tell it like it is. So, when you have Archangel Raziel, as I said, he's the Mystic of the Angels. He helps you to connect in with your intuition, to read the signs coming in. If you look at this card, it's kind of almost going from the dark to the light. Now, the orange also links in with the sacral chakra, which is about your sense of identity, sexual pleasure, your creativity. So, the Angel of Communication can actually go on all of those levels. It may be that you're having a relationship with somebody and you really need to tell him it like it is. You know, to be open, to bring out your truth. There's lots of blue on there, and normally blue is connected with the throat chakra, and it's about speaking your truth. Okay, so if you could have that going on in your life currently. It may be that you want to tell somebody what it is that you actually want to do to help you to be more creative, to connect in with your creativity. Maybe this is a work situation. Maybe it's just that you just need that time to get on with that creativity. It may be that it's time to write something. You know, writing is a form of communication. They're asking you to tell it like it is. So maybe it's time to write your story down. Maybe it's time to start a journal, you know, so it may be different for all of you, but when you put those two cards together, it starts to make sense. And what it is whatever you are going to express, whatever you are going to communicate in, and it could be a whole load of different situations and may resonate with different people on different levels. It's about getting your truth out. It's about expressing yourself and feeling better because it's out there. So that's the beginning of this week. Let's go to midweek. Midweek we have Archangel Ragu and conflict resolution. I've often said conflict resolution can actually come from inside as much as being an external influence. So it may be, again, if you're struggling with creativity, there's something you want to do, but you don't know whether you should do it or not. You know, this could be something like doing a course, it could be writing that book, it could be starting a journal, it could be even taking up communication with somebody. Maybe, you know, it's a very old-fashioned word this, but maybe you want to be like a pen pal with someone, you know, and you're thinking whether you should or you shouldn't. Should you kind of send that first message that's going to sort of open it up? You know, keep getting the word pen pal coming in, and I say, I haven't heard that word in years. So just watch out for where communication comes in, where you can start to communicate, you know, and if it resolves a conflict, whether it's inside you or outside, you know, whether it's making peace with somebody you haven't spoken to for a while, you know, whether it's making peace with yourself. And that's what I always say about Archangel, about the conflict resolution card. But Archangel Ragu is the one who helps us with our relationship. So, you know, watch out for where that conflict starts to get healed. The Shadow Self. Now that's an interesting card, because that's often when you've been kind of holding something back, kind of keeping to the shadows, not letting anything out into the light, you know, and quite often that is what actually fuels conflict. And, you know, all these cards seem to be actually saying get it out there, you know, express yourself, say what you feel, and, you know, step out from the shadows, stop lurking in those shadows, you know. Or if somebody else is casting a shadow on you, step out into your own light, step out into that orange like in that first card. Okay, let's go towards the end of the week. We have Archangel Azrael and we have the completion card. Now, I never worry about this card because from experience I use these cards every day in readings. That card is normally about actually being successful, about completing something. The word completion in itself is successful word. You know, it's a word that you've achieved something. There's a lovely gold star on there, you know, but when we complete something, we also come to an ending. And Archangel Azrael is the angel of endings, and he's also the archangel of counsellors. And you know, when we end anything, no matter how jubilant we may be at our achievement, there's always that sense of sadness. Think about when you do a course and you get to the end and you've passed your exams and you've got your certificate and you're all saying goodbye and you go for that farewell drink. There's that sadness, isn't there? Even though there's that joy that you've actually done it. And you know, that's like with anything in life. Whatever you finish, whatever you complete, if you've been waiting for a house to go through completion, and there's been a lot of hold-ups, hasn't there, recently? I've got the card of balance, by the way. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But if you're waiting for your house and then suddenly it completes, and it's like that place that's had all your memories, all your emotions for so long, you're saying goodbye to it. So there's that sense of sadness, isn't there? I mean, we've all had that experience of walking around saying goodbye to rooms and things like that, which seems silly, but it's also part of the ritual, isn't it? So, you know, so even though we're happy to be moving on, I think there's always that sense of needing that little bit of counsel, of needing to acknowledge that there's always a little bit of sadness when we move on from one stage to another, you know. Now, we have the card of balance has come up, so that's keeping everything balanced, as keeping your emotions balanced, realising as one thing comes in, another thing goes out. You know, life is about change, but it's also, when you look at it, it's almost like life is in patterns. It's almost repetitive, you know, as sure as night comes after day, sort of thing. It's one of those things, you know, and we kind of go in phases, and we kind of it's almost like we go in circles, really, when you think about life, you know, and it's about keeping it balanced, and it's about accepting that there will be good days and bad days, and yes, you may have achieved something, and yes, something may be completed, be at completion, and great, but at the same time, remember your emotions, and remember to keep them balanced, and remember life is about keeping that balance. Okay, let's do a very quick recap. We've got some complicated cards this week, I think. We have Archangel Raziel at the beginning. And as I said, that one was quite unclear to me, you know. If I do a reading and it comes up, and it's normally the one thing it's always been about is somebody coming out of a dark space and going into the light. So, you know, going back into their creativity. There's yellow right in the middle of that. There's a dove on it that symbolises love. So it's a positive card. It's not a negative card. But it can, depending on what the influence card is, it can be different. It can just have slightly different meanings. So, you know, it's very clear once we get the influence card, and you know, we've got the angel of communication, and it is about expressing yourself. So that's what that card is about. It's about expressing yourself, and that expressing yourself will lead to healing, lead to inner healing. Then we have Archangel Ragu, middle of the week. Now, conflict resolution, as I said, can be external or internal. And the shadow self is about stepping out of the shadows. Allow yourself to step out of the shadows into the light, to face, to acknowledge whatever that truth is. End of the week, it kind of changes slightly, doesn't it? And we have Archangel Azrael coming in, but that's completion. You've completed something. Now, it may be that the completion is going through this stage of speaking your truth, getting it all out there. Maybe it's being a little bit uncomfortable. The conflict resolution happens. You can step out of the shadows. You've completed. But with that, there may come a sadness. Maybe you decide that you have to step away from this person. Maybe you decide that you need to change a chapter, that you can't carry on in the job that you're in, and you need to sort of change it, and you need to bring about that ending, that completion. But it's a sense of achievement as well, because you know what you want. You know the star that you're heading for. And the last card is just a reminder to keep it all in balance, to realise that, you know, life is about keeping that balance, you know, and accepting that there'll be good days, there'll be bad days, there'll be nights and there'll be days, there'll be rain and there'll be sunshine, and it is that balance. And not everybody's all good, not everybody's all bad, you know, that just came in there, so I thought I'd better get that one in. So, you know, so it's keeping that balance, acknowledging that balance and being aware of it. Okay, I think I've got to the end of this week's reading. Thank you all for bearing with me. I know it was a slightly complicated one this week. Oh, it's lovely. I've got no fur babies. I managed to get them all out. I feel like Mrs. Noah at the moment. Anyway, love and laughter to you all. Speak to you next week. Bye.